It was a long time ago. There was a king. The king was very arrogant. He was very proud of his strength and intelligence. One day the king was fencing and suddenly the sword hit the king's finger and the king's finger was cut. The king also had an advisor. When the advisor saw this, he looked at the king and said, "Your Majesty, whatever happens, happens for the good." When the king heard this, he became very angry and said to the advisor that my finger has been cut and you are saying that whatever happens, happens for the good. The king became so angry that he issued an order to give death penalty to the advisor. The king asked his soldiers to put the advisor in prison. Now the next day the advisor was to be given death sentence. When the king asked the advisor about his last wish, the advisor told the king that Maharaj, please give me death sentence after 10 days. The king said, okay, after 10 days we will give you death penalty. Once upon a time, the king went hunting and he had many soldiers with him. Then the king saw a prey in the forest. The king started running after that prey, but while running, the king's soldiers were left behind and the king went far into the forest. After killing the prey, the king looked back and found no one there. Now the king understood that his soldiers were left behind. The king was about to go back when the wild there caught hold of the king. The king started shouting, "Leave me, I am the king," but the wild did not leave the king and took him away with him. When the king went to the wild people were preparing to sacrifice. When they saw the king, they started preparing the king for sacrifice. The king started crying and pleading loudly, but the savages did not listen to a single word of the king and started sacrificing the king. Then suddenly the master of the savages stopped the sacrifice. When the savage asked his savage master why he stopped the sacrifice, the master of the wild said that this male was already mutilated, one of his fingers was cut off. Then what happened was that the king was stopped from offering sacrifices and the barbarians left the king. The king somehow saved his life and reached his kingdom and went straight to the jail to his advisor and said to the advisor, "Please forgive me because today my life was saved because of this cut finger. I should not have put you in jail." On this the advisor said, "Maharaj, this is also good, whatever happens happens for the good." The king was surprised at this and said to the advisor, "Aren't you sad that I kept you in prison?" The advisor said, "No, Maharaj, if I had not been in jail, I would have been sacrificed today." On this the king asked how. The advisor said, "Maharaj, if I had not been in prison, if I had been hunting with you, then those wild people would have caught me and killed me. Even if they had captured you, they would have sacrificed me instead of you, that is why Maharaj, whatever happens, happens for the good." Now the king had understood the matter. Therefore whatever happens in life happens for good.